It still looks a lot like winter around here, but it's finally starting to loosen its icy grip. Come with me as I show you a little bit of a spring tour. So unfortunately on the prairies, spring doesn't really look a lot like spring. It still looks tons like winter here, but there is melting, there is seed starting, there are tons of exciting things that are going on here at the acreage. And yes, for those of you who have been watching me for some time and wondering where on earth did we move to, we moved right here to the acreage that you saw last season that we were growing in sometime. So I'm trying to like nicely walk to the greenhouse for you, and the camera keeps going like this. It's because I keep like falling in the snow. It's still so deep. Gotta love it. So here's the high tunnel. This is basically the first place to melt, which is not surprising. Down here where the leaves are covering is where I planted a whole bunch of tulips. Going to see if we can maybe get some of these to bloom early. And then all along this row is stuff that I winter sowed. And so far nothing is up, but again, totally expected. Look at that snow still trying to get in. Over in these raised beds, I also did a lot of winter sowing. I have no idea if any of this stuff is going to come up, but they're all cool flowers, and I thought I would just give it a try, see what happens. In the front of the raised beds, over here, these are where I have a few tulips. I want to see if growing tulips in raised beds is at all possible, or if it's just a total bust. Of course, the weeds always seem to be able to thrive, which is really annoying. And now over here by the house, this doesn't look like very much, but this is a perennial garden that I planted last fall, last summer, and I am very excited and hope that lots of this stuff comes back. You might have also noticed that I have these trays of ranunculus sitting outside. I've been experimenting with just putting them outside during the day when there's plus temperatures, and so far so good. Seems to be working out. All right, so that's pretty much the outside. Let's take a look inside and I'll show you all of the seed starting goodness. So welcome to our storage room. Please don't mind the mess, but this is the home of the newest seed starting setup, and it's one that you can easily replicate yourself. I've purchased a shelf from Costco, and this is the new home. Now, so far we're only using the top 3 shelves. This will be used next week because we'll be starting a lot more seedlings. So I just bumped up my apricot lisianthus and white lisianthus. Those are over here. They're looking so much happier than they were. It was totally time. If you're planning on growing along with me with the West Coast Seeds project, I have parts of my $100 cut flower garden started. So of course we're gonna see the eucalyptus downstairs, but up here we have some gotatia. We also have some basil, and we have some Ami as well, and they're looking really good. That basil smells like absolutely divine. I mean, maybe it's silly, but I just sort of assumed that like if the basil was going to smell, it would smell later, not right away, but it definitely smells right away, and it is so nice. As for the grow lights, these are just the cheap Barina ones on Amazon. These are brand new to me, so I can't say whether like they're super long lasting, and I do have my hesitations about them, but for like easiness and cheapness, they're A++. They come in these little 2-foot rods, and if you want to make them into a 4-foot, all you do is take this little piece and you just pop it right in. Then you want to match up the light sides, connect it together, and ta-da! 4-foot grow light. It's really super simple. Then to connect it to another grow light, you just take this plug-in, which has the same end as the other one. Pop that right in. And then you can connect this to the next grow light. And then to attach them to your shelves, you're just going to use zip ties. You can also screw them in, or if you have any other way of sort of holding them, it would be better if you could put a chain on them, just because it'd be easier to go up and down, which is why I have this like convoluted setup here to get my trays up a lot closer to my lights. Now these are weak lights, so we're needing about 3 4-foot sets on one shelf. So it's similar to the shop lights, and it's unfortunate. So I think that's something you have to weigh when you're figuring out your grow light setup. If you're going to invest in the sun blasters and maybe spend a little bit more money up front but not need so many lights, or if you're just going to cheap out and go with something like the Barina or the shop lights where you need some extras. Let's head downstairs to the basement and I'll show you the seedlings down there. So welcome to where most of the magic happens. This setup over here is a shelf that Michael built me before the price of wood went absolutely crazy. And it is 4 feet long by 2 feet wide, so that it works out just perfectly with this tray system. And then we have shop lights here on chains. As I said upstairs before, we need to have 3 shop lights so that there's enough light. Another drawback to using the shop light is that it's only the cool spectrum light. It's not the full spectrum light, but it's okay. We found that our plants still survive. It's totally fine. So this is my second sowing of Lisianthus. I'm hoping that this stuff will be ready for Thanksgiving. So I started it a bit later than the stuff that you saw upstairs. Next is feverfew and stock that I'm hoping to plant out a little bit earlier. We also have a little bit of rat tail status, and the germ was so good, and I don't know what happened. I guess I had a bunch of damping off, unfortunately. We have dead status. Very sad. Over here, we have some soil blocking. This is peppermint, which maybe I will actually put into bigger stuff now. We have some Dara over here, I believe, or is it white dill? I can't remember. I can't see my tags. Then we have some loofah sponges. Now, I couldn't find my seeds, so I started these late. We'll see if I get anything. And then just some stuff that really hasn't germinated over here. I'm having really poor pepper germination this year. Continuing the poor pepper germination, we have amazing gray poppies from West Coast Seeds. These are some really cool red onions from West Coast Seeds as well. And then I'm involved in teaching a Grow With Me project. And then here are some of the flowers that I'm going to need in that project. My onions are looking pretty good. We started way more of them this year because we ran out of our own onions within like 2 months. Then under this tray, let's take a little peek. So nothing really seems to have germinated yet, but this is all a bunch of cool flowers. I love seed starting stock. It's just, I don't know, it's so easy. They look really healthy. Well, except of course, we have a few of these that have died. I should probably rip those cells out. Also struggling with the celery this year, but we didn't really use a lot of it, so not sad about that. More poorly germinating peppers, some status that's looking really good, and some snaps, and those will get chucked out early as well. If we take a little peek in this tray, oh, we have some nice we have a lot of germination. Okay, that's very exciting. So these are more of my main season stock. And then back here, I think there's some more snaps. And then I think the first of my experimental straw flower has just started. That's another early season experiment. And then in this tray, we've got some basil. Not too much else has come up in this one. And then over here, ooh, we have lots of snapdragons. This is very exciting. This year I started my eucalyptus around Christmas, and it is fantastic. This is definitely the timing I want to start. These are lovely plants. I'm super excited about this eucalyptus. So this tray here in the grow room is probably my favorite spot of all the trays, all the growing things. This is the Dahlia station. And what I'm doing to try and increase my stock is I'm taking a bunch of cuttings. I experimented with cuttings last year and it worked pretty well for me, except I didn't get tubers. So this year I'm trying it a whole month earlier, and fingers crossed that we're gonna get some tubers this year. At this point, I have definitely crossed the 100 cutting mark, and I couldn't be more excited. It's pretty darn addicting, I've got to say. And so what I do is I have all of my tubers just in these trays kind of set up, and then as we get one that's ready, we just kind of grab it, take it off, put this end in a little bit of rooting hormone, plop it in the soil, and away we go. So this stuff right here is a rooting hormone. You don't actually have to use it to start your dahlias cuttings, but I've used it this year and I'm finding it's working a lot better, way more reliable than not using it like I did last year. Really, there's only been one dahlia variety that seems to like fall over and just kind of not transfer very well, but the rest of them are doing quite well, and it's been a very successful experiment. So thanks for joining me on this little seedling tour. If you also live in a cold climate with a short gardening season, you're definitely going to want to subscribe and follow the journey as I take this batch of seedlings and transform them hopefully into an amazing garden come this summer. All right, friends, we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.